Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for being here, for joining us at the end of the day. My name is Teresa Presas, and I will be guiding you in this conversation here today. Let me introduce our guests first and foremost. Mr. José Manuel Ribeiro, who is the chairman of LIPOR, and you will know a bit more what LIPOR is. He's the chairman of LIPOR, and he's also the mayor of a municipality, Valongo, in the north of Portugal. Mr. Fernando Leite is the CEO of LIPOR, and Mrs. Susana Abreu is the head of the international division at LIPOR. What is LIPOR? We're going to see in a moment about it, but why are we here? Because LIPOR has a very interesting path. It's a very dynamic and enterprise or entity, and has a very interesting and exciting story to say about its actions beyond waste and beyond Portugal as well. It is a success story. It has been for 40 years anticipating what a number of the measures and principles in the Green Deal, and that is quite remarkable. So we will show you a short video, a broad brush of what LIPOR is. Then we will have here a conversation, and at the end we will have the pleasure to have Sara Cerdas, the MEP who is in the Environment Committee in the Parliament, who will give us some closing remarks. So having said that, there she is. Sorry, we just started. Please, yeah. Say hello to you. Sorry, we just started introducing them.
And I'm sorry, I'm
That's
like,
okay.
yeah.
Very nice. Please. No, it's okay. Take your time. Okay, so he's our guest. We have not started. We just started introducing and saying what we are going to do and what we're going to talk about. So first of all, we're going to show a short video about LIPOR, kind of to set the scene. Then we will have a conversation among ourselves, and at the end, you will be so kind and give us some keynotes as closing remarks. So can we have, and we have also some guests on streaming, so we'll have to talk with the microphone. Could we start with the video, please? Yes. It will give you an overview of what LIPOR is. Okay, here we are.
Waste management is one of the priority issues in many countries around the world. The increase in the world population has a direct impact on waste production, and estimates point to significant increases. Sustainable waste management is thus a challenge for everyone, but especially in developing countries. LIPOR has been operating in the waste management sector for 40 years. It built its integrated waste management strategy based on the projection of a circular business model and is today a national and international reference. LIPOR makes its know-how, experience, and best specialists available to international clients through specialized technical consultancy in the field of waste management and environmental protection. The solutions are customized to the needs of each client, adapted to the size and culture of the destination country,
So you have understood that LIPOR goes beyond waste and also beyond Portugal. It's an entity that is formed by 8 municipalities in the north of Portugal, but we will hear a little bit more about it, with a professional management. So it's a very interesting model that we would like to share with you and listen a bit more about. So we have also understood by this video that at the core of LIPOR's strategy is really turning its operations into a circular economy. And it is a vast challenge, but LIPOR is well placed to address it. I would like to ask LIPOR's chairman, José Manuel Ribeiro, LIPOR chairman, who tell us a bit more what are the key success factors of LIPOR. Why are we telling that it's an interesting, remarkable organization?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for your presence. Thank you, MEP. It's very nice to have you here. Well, I think one of the reasons for our success, we are celebrating this year 40 years, and our numbers compare with the best in Europe. So it's really a success case in Portugal. Is, I think, our model of governance. We are not a company. We are an association of municipalities with highly professionalized management. But every 15 days, we have 8 municipalities, 8 mayors, 8 local managers deciding the strategy and the tactics. But we are not. We don't implement. We delegate that to highly specialized person, men and women. I think that's the point, and that's why we are now, and we came to Brussels because we feel we can be an ally of the European Commission, because our method, our model, our numbers, what we have reached mean that we can and we have the possibility to participate in the global market as an ally of the Commission. We have already several years of internationalization, and at the same time creating trends, innovating. We already create products, we are creating materials of all our operations. So we are an ally, we want to be seen as an ally, so that's why we are doing what we are doing.
Yes, and in fact, we've been spending those 2 days going around, if I may say so, around Brussels, visiting some institutions and telling them our story. And we even there telling them that we are contributing. There's a number of regulations on waste that are coming up, and we were telling them, we bring you some contributions for a good regulation. But above all, they were very impressed with what they hear. And interesting enough, they also said, we normally listen to waste managers, organizations and companies, very big and multinationals, but we're very happy to see that small, medium-sized enterprise, public one, is doing so good. Mr. Fernando Leite, LIPOR is changing its business model, as I said, beyond waste. It is now focusing from being a waste to changing waste into resource to turning into a producers of products and services. Tell us what it means.
Okay, it's an interesting story, because when we start operating our most important facilities, the composting plant, the sorting plant, a waste-to-energy plant, we realized that to have a success in the future in our sector, we need to work with quality, and we need to start doing our job in the collect of the different streams of waste with better conditions. So for our composting plant, for example, we don't collect wastes. We bring different kinds of materials, organic materials, to produce at the end a very good compost, a biological compost that is important to increase the capabilities of the soils, the poor soils in Portugal. And when with that example in the 2005, we realized that it's important not only to be a waste management company, because in this case we only work in the middle of the value chain of our sector, so we need to be in all the value chain. And to be in all the value chain is to be a producer of products and and also services. And that is important because after that example of Nutrimais, our compost, we start having other kind of products, subtracts in the same area of the composting, in the sorting plant having different kind of materials, and now working in the polymer sectors with best products. And also in the case of the waste to energy, we start working also in the critical materials we have in the bottom ashes product. So is that what we think, that it's important to change our business model and leave the waste sector as a final objective and start being, in this case, a producer of products. And that is very well done in last years.
Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. It's anticipating what what the Green Deal is, what legislation in Europe has set as principles and targets and measures. So I think that's remarkable. But Mr. Leite, innovation, and I think that's part also of the trends that we have in Europe. Innovation is a strategic topic for LIPOR. And the main goal of innovation is to create value. So you are creating value from waste. And at the same time, innovation supports the circular economy. Tell us a bit more. Can you elaborate a bit on the innovation in LIPOR, please?
Yes, is the example of our composting plant in 2005. We start thinking that and realizing that it's important to have the innovation, because with better raw material we can have good products. And we understand also that circular economy is not recycling, is more than recycling. And we need to put the innovation working, because we need to work very hard seeing what is the shallow vein, and also what is important to do in that area. So after 2012, we start with our department, the innovation department, in two important pillars. In the sector of products for agriculture is one of them. The other is the plastic sector, also is very important in our organization. And last is the bottom ashes products, that is also important for our developed future.
Yeah, but in your innovation, you told us during those 2 days about a very particular new product that you have, that the innovation department has developed, and that is this container, which I think it's very interesting, because after all, it touches upon each one of us in our daily lives.
Yes, it's interesting, because when we start thinking how to increase the recycling, we understand that we need to be very present in our houses. And the normal containers we have in our houses in the kitchen, but not so proximity of the people. So we start thinking in the new kind of container, is a container to put across near the wall, and it's a new container made in polypropylene. Is new, is very innovative, and we are going to be in the market in 2 months. We are going to start selling that kind of container.
So it's actually attached to the
Yeah.
wall. You don't have to, to kind of
Yeah.
make any nails or drill into it. Just attached to the wall, which is and you said that
And
you can
support 10 kilos of material, so
Exactly.
it's very interesting.
and you can put pictures.
And is made by a recycling plastic, and is also important in our case.
Communication is another strategic issue for LIPOR. And your activity, LIPOR's activity, is close to the consumer citizens, which is your passion. And you need that support to achieve your objectives. So how to make the consumer citizen understand their contribution, but also their responsibility when it comes to protecting the environment, when it comes to protecting biodiversity, combating climate change, etc.
Well, that's the challenge not only of LIPOR, but of all organizations, not only today, but for the last years and in the coming years. If we don't invest in a change in behavior, of course, we will have lots of problems. When we know that the first question of this waste activity, more than waste, trying to make resources of waste, the first question nowadays is to reduce consumption. We only achieve reduction of consumption with a change of behavior. And so we invest a lot. When I say we, it's on not only LIPOR, but all the 8 municipalities representing 1 million people, not all the metropolitan area, because some other 7 municipalities have a different system. They don't have all our system. We have all the answers that we know to treat the waste. So we do this communication, investment in awareness, capacity, empowering. I think the word is empowering people, because it's really empowering, giving them information, skills. When, for example, imagine this, we invest a lot in composting courses, teaching them to use a composter. Those.
Yes.
Why? And then
Home compost.
because it's like a Troy horse. When you get a family that learns how to use composting, then they want to have urban farming, and after they change their behavior, how they buy, what they buy, how they consume. That's the tricking point. If we don't change behavior, human behavior, of course we can get the targets, but it's much more difficult. So that's and we invest a lot in communication.
Yep.
We have thousands of hours of courses, of actions. Our landfill, it was, let me say that 40 years ago, that place was a awful place. It was a hole, a dump, an ugly dump. And nowadays you go there, and if you don't know, you think it's a great green area. Because it's not a passive, it's an active nowadays. It has an adventure park.
Mm-hmm.
It receives about 50,000 visitors every year. And so we are always, all the time, not only we, but I think the best examples are completely connected with communication, with education, with training.
Yeah. With the bringing consumers to follow you. Yeah.
To make
and
big changes.
And
That
the
means big
enthusiasting
changes.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like it is to reduce consumption. But
That's
this
a
is
big,
another
big change.
very, very vast issue.
But
isn't it?
but let me say that the European Commission is trying to and the Parliament, of course, the European Union, to say, finally, we collectively understood the importance of making a stop to programs of obsolescence. This old question that we buy a mobile and after 1 year we have to buy another one, and that's craziness. So fortunately we are changing.
Yeah.
That's a big step to reduce waste.
Yeah.
And then we do the rest of the job. That's our we are experts doing the rest of the job.
Yeah.
Also.
From a more technical point of view. Yes. Let me now, before we go on and we come back to LIPOR, let me turn to marine litter, because you are talking about awareness, and I think marine litter has to do with that. It's a huge problem, and I understand that it has finally been recognized as such. But marine litter main source is land-based. So the waste doesn't come from underneath the water or up. It is land-based, especially plastics. And this is where LIPOR comes in. Okay. Like you were saying, LIPOR was a landfill site 40 years ago, or a dump site, a dump site. And it is today a highly technological operation that is providing products, services, and resources. But so we tend to think that, you know, landfills, dump sites don't exist anymore in Europe, that they are outside the world. But actually, we have also marine litter around Europe that is land-based. So, what do you think? You know, like LIPOR started with this dump sites, but it has become a model. How do you take this model to other parts of the world? Maybe, yeah.
We have, unfortunately, we still have lots of dumps and landfills in Europe. Some countries almost nowadays have zero landfill, but other countries have landfill. Unfortunately, in Portugal, we have to say always the truth, not the truth is a central question. Of course, if you see only LIPOR area, we don't have landfill. We only have 2%. It's technical reasons when we have to stop the incinerator operation. But about the question, this is a very important question. We only solve the problem of plastics. I put it plastics. If the industry enters the same challenge, they have to, you know, to innovate, bring the scientists, bring academia, bring a lot of people to, you know, to change the way we produce things. What kind of materials to reduce the plastic in, because we know that some products have intended plastics when they are produced. So if we don't change the way we produce things, it's impossible. About the plastic, about the plastics that we have already, we LIPOR, we treat that. We have a system, we have a sorting, we are investing in a big sorting. It will be in April, the biggest of Iberia Peninsula. So we have technical means to treat that. As Mr. LIPOR said, we are already using plastic to do new materials. So, but
Products. Yep.
we have to see these. The first step is to reduce in the source. Imagine we have to stop putting plastics in the cycle, because nowadays we know that the microplastics, they can go inside our body, and that's a big problem because they come with food, they come with fish.
Yep.
So stop the production of things with plastics. I say plastics. Attacking the plastics in the ocean. We know that there are lots of projects to do that. And giving support, and now I'm talking about LIPOR, all these systems like LIPOR is a good example, that have solutions, must be strength.
Yep.
Not only in Europe, also Europe, but for example, in our brothers in Africa, in our brothers in South America, because they don't have the same technology. They don't have now, but they can have in some years, and we are already doing that. So
That's what.
Susanna is
That's
an
where
expert, so
I wanted to come in, because this is a consolidated model, and we just heard a little bit. We just touched the surface, really scratched the surface. But can we take this model somewhere else in the world, like to achieving a bit what you said? Now, not necessarily, banning plastics, but taking this LIPOR model in other parts of the world. LIPOR has been doing that, and you are in charge of it. So can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yes, thank you very much. So LIPOR decided to implement an internationalization strategy supported in the know-how and on the experience of LIPOR. We are now offering tailor-made solutions to other countries that are now facing waste management challenges. So we are developing that strategy since 10 years ago, and we already developed a lot of projects. Our strategy is focused on African countries and Latin America countries, because, as you know, in these geographies, there are many problems regarding waste management that we should look at and try to find solutions, tailor-made solutions according the needs, the realities, and the dimension of the countries. And we are here to help that countries on this issue. So that it's true.
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about marine litter, and one very important measure is changing behavior, like you were saying, President. Behavioral change in citizens and stakeholders, that is essential. And for that, you need communication, education, prevention, like you were saying, which is an area where LIPOR is working as well, both in Portugal and in its realm, but also outside. So can you tell us about these education programs and awareness programs? You have LIPOR has participated in the Conference of the Oceans, which you know took place in June in Lisbon, and you had a side event precisely communicating in a project that is based on communication and awareness. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, just to make a short introduction, LIPOR in its internationalization strategy is working in three main areas: technical consultancy, awareness and environmental education, and training on capacity building. We have a project with Argentina regarding marine litter, and because this project we participated in a side event in the United Nations Ocean Conference in June. Our participation in the project is we are responsible for capacity building of different groups of stakeholders, NGOs, municipalities, Argentina municipalities, fishermen's class. We are helping also the government of Argentina in the definition of communication strategy regarding marine litter, and we also have a lot of participations in events to promote the awareness against marine litter and to help the education of the citizens and the entities, Argentina entities. So that's why we had participated in the United Nations Ocean Conference.
Just to showcase one of the projects that you have, and the
Yes.
one precisely in awareness. You have others, as you said, technical consultancy, etc. But now we were talking about
And just to conclude, we have a business case of LIPOR. We had this business case in three different languages: English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And our business case is available in our website. And we produced this business case to show the story of LIPOR, how was the path of these 40 years of activity, and we focus on the key success factors of LIPOR, the governance model, the communication strategy, the awareness, the circular economy activities we have, our facilities, our waste management integrated system. A lot of information you find in this business case to better understand how LIPOR is working and how we make the business runs every day
And everywhere.
and everywhere.
Yep,
Just one thing.
sure.
You know, just to see the way we operate, our method. Some years ago, I don't know, before the pandemic, Mr. Late, 3 years ago probably, we decided to call an expert about semiotic. Why? Because, and it's the same here, because for a lot of people, they don't say waste, they say garbage. Sometimes they even say worse things about waste. But it's different when you know the difference of waste and garbage. And so we called experts in semiotic language. We can do we have done that there. You can do it here. You can do it everywhere, because it's the way to communicate. Because sometimes we don't communicate. We think we communicate, but people, they don't understand nothing, because we don't use the same language, the same words. So this is our method. I don't know why, but it's the way we are. So we are very focused to go, like Mr. Late said, we want to compare with the best. That is always the best way. And so we think it's a kind of, it's logical. We think that our model can be replicated.
Absolutely, yes. LIPOR started already established, defined the evolution to 2030. And one of the key issues is, of course, low carbon, enhancing this critical combination of low carbon and energy towards decarbonization and towards the transition that is expected from our Europe and our societies. Reducing landfills is definitely part of a low carbon strategy, because landfill emits a number of greenhouse gases. We just talked about it, but there's also waste to energy. That is a valuable solution for some types of residues, for turning waste into a resource. Are those activities recognized? And I want to say with this, we are in a critical energy crisis. Would waste energy produced out of waste resources, is it recognized? Could it be recognized more? Maybe our guest could also say a word about it. Mrs. Sara Cerdas, please go ahead as LIPOR, and then I will
Just
ask
to
you.
let me say, and then it's important, Mr. Late, because he is the expert. I'm starting to understand this, but he is the expert. But let me talk a little bit about waste to management. Of course, we don't work for waste to management. Waste to management is everywhere, always a big discussion. But we cannot discuss all the time. We cannot be suspicious all the time about technological advances. Because as a citizen, as a mayor, as a local actor, I don't see anything discussing the central that produces cement. And the central that produces cement is much more negative for the atmosphere than a waste to management incineration. But nobody discusses that. What we think, that was the decision, just to point us and to point you about our method. When the former mayors, I don't know, it was 20 years ago, when they were deciding what kind of technology for our incinerator, we were going to have, they decided to invest more in a technology that produce less energy, electric energy, but because it produces less pollution. It was a very intelligent. If you go nowadays, we have the numbers. It's the impact of our incinerator, and it's not only in LIPOR. You have several in Europe of that kind of generation. Its impact is less than a cement production unit. So imagine. So sometimes we are, discussing the question of incinerators. Incinerator is part of a solution, a global solution. You work to reduce waste. When you have waste, you have to separate it. You make, you sort it, you value it. But we always have rest. It's a fact. We always have rest. And the question is, do we want to put it in a landfill, or do we want to make energy of it? So that's a pragmatical question. Sometimes we lose lots of time discussing things that is not logical. So, but it's important to hear Fernando Leite, because he is managing the projects, the innovation projects concerning carbon, and we are in very advanced projects nowadays.
Yes, it's interesting to understand that in the case of LIPOR, we have an integrated system. We have not only the waste-to-energy plant, but also a composting plant, a sorting plant, as Mr. President said. And in the case, we start with the waste-to-energy because in a metropolitan area, we have a high production of wastes. And our vision is to stop with landfill, because landfill is the installation that have the most important emissions. So in the case, we don't forget that in the priorities, our priorities, and also in the priorities of the European Commission, we start with prevention, we have the recycle, we have the reuse, we have the organic valorization, we have all that sort of units working to a global solution for the waste of the region. The waste to energy is important because at the end we have a high production of electricity. With electricity we produce in the waste to energy plant, we have the electricity enough to the lighting streets, in streets or in all the area of Porto region. Also for the municipality buildings is enough, so it's interesting to consider in economic value the waste to energy plant in our system. Relating with the case of the emissions, is important to say that we are in according with the best practices in Europe to the emissions, but now we have a very important project, is a project, a very innovative project. We are going to start capturing the carbon. After, with the possibility to produce hydrogen, combining carbon with hydrogen, we are going to produce a fuel, a biological fuel for aviation. We are very near the airport. We are far. Our waste-to-energy plant is 3 kilometers from the airport, and this combination of carbon and hydrogen is very important. Is very innovative. We have some examples here in Germany, also in France, and we are going to develop very quickly this kind of project because with that our emissions are going to reduce dramatically and very well.
Thank you. Very good. Yeah. I would like to turn to you if you have any questions. Yes.
I do. I have two questions. The first question is about your business model. You said at the beginning that you're not a private company. you're not a public one, you're an association of cities. So how does it work? It's a service that you sell, even when you work with Argentina or other countries. How does it really work, those partnerships? Pro bono, there is a
Yep.
business behind.
I mean, the revenues, where does it
No,
come
no,
from?
it's we are like a municipality. The law is the same for a municipal association. We are a municipal association.
But you,
The 8 municipalities own 100% of the capital, and so we sell services. Like it's allowed by our constitution. We have 3 ways of organizing resources: the public way, the private way, and the cooperative way. Not only in Portugal, we are the public way. And but we are a very important. We buy a lot of services. We sell, but we also buy. Our part of our facilities, all our facilities have private partners. We pay them to help us. So it makes the economy work a lot.
Okay, and this second part of this question is because there are a lot of examples of consultancy like that. You have a specific methodology. So I'm curious about when you engage in a training, for example, with Argentinians, how do you protect your know-how in the sense that it's something that can be not easily replicated by others? But they engage with you, they want to remain with the source.
Susanna can answer, but we don't hide nothing. We only hide when we have confidentiality clauses, like one of these projects. We have some clauses of because it's a new project, but we show what we do. That's part of the success.
maybe Susanna can answer.
What we are making is services provision. So we have a contract with our customer for a specific project where we know specifically what is our role and what are the tasks we must comply. And we work for the customer, sometimes with some partnerships, other companies, other entities, but everything runs very well, and we don't have afraid of share our strategy, our knowledge, and our experience, because we don't have afraid of replication, because it's LIPOR at the end. So we are open and open door institution. We show what we are doing for the citizens, for our stakeholders. We have a very transparency way of being in the market, in the in waste management sector, and this is something that is unique for us. So it's not easy replicate LIPOR if you don't belong to LIPOR. So that's a message that I'd like to share, but no problem with it. Okay.
We use public money, so
Yep.
it must be public.
Yep.
All the money we use, it's public money.
Yeah.
So everything is public. Even our studies, all studies are public, open. You can access.
Okay, thank you. Just one more question, because Sarah Sellers has to leave afterwards. Please.
Thank you. I have a question for you about, it is located in Greater Porto, what I read. Your organization, Waste2Resource, sorry, is located in Portugal, in Porto.
Porto Metropolitan.
Yes. And my question is, does it exist other place in Portugal, first of all, that can act like you in the same model? That is my question. And the second question is, in Europe, many region work in the same way than you. 20 and more, 40 years ago, when we are aware more about pollution, about protection of environment. So my question is, well, sorry, but I believe that there is no something special that I understand. I read a lot.
I understand your
I-
question. So the
yes.
first one is there any other operation like this in Portugal? And the second one is that you are not really impressed because there's a lot of these models. No, it's
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that has to be done 40 years ago or
Yes,
something.
yes.
Today is like this everywhere. No, but I understand what you mean.
Because in European region, there are a lot of meeting on, and also in European Parliament. So the discussion is on, and well, when I listen to different speakers, I don't heard something new.
Okay.
Thank you.
You should go to Portugal and other countries. But the first question and the first answer, we have other systems, the numbers we have, and I started to say our numbers compared with the best in Europe. I started to say there are other examples like we. We are not the best, but we are at the same level of the best. And if you analyze all over Europe, you don't have so many best examples. When we talk about these questions, we have to know numbers. You are right, but when you compare with all Europe, you don't have, it's not all good examples, and you know that. We have more bad examples than good examples. So when we are very proud of what we do, and as I told also, we are here because we think we want to go to the world. We want to expand our activities. It's legitimate to do that. I'm sure you agree with me. We want to legitimate, and we want to keep doing trends. It's also legitimate. So, and in Europe, we have very good relations with the association. There is an association, networks, and we know that several of our colleagues. When I mean colleagues, it's not one municipality. Systems compare with us, are doing great job, and that is innovation. We only innovate if not only one, but several very good examples exist to bring the others. Because the question is, when are we going to have all good examples? That is the point.
Yeah, I think it's a very good answer. And yes, it might not be, but there's a number of examples that are really innovative that we just heard. But I would like to ask Sara Cerdas, who is an MEP of the Environment Committee, that can perhaps support of what the president said about this being an example and not having the same everywhere in Europe.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here. And again, thank you for the invitation and to add some concluding remarks to this event. I think what we just heard this afternoon is that this is a great example of that saying of think global, act local. Actually, in the past 3 years in the European Parliament, in the European Union, we have been discussing the European Green Deal. How can we, for instance, decarbonize the European Union? How can we reduce our emissions? And we need this revolutionary transition to happen and to ensure protection and viability of our planet, not only for future generations, but even for ourselves. And this has a lot to do with the LIPOR's core of work. The Green Deal is also dealing with the circular economy. It's dealing with how people perceive the resources available to them and how humanity perceives planet's resources and how we value a given product and give it and actually address it by all its life cycle. Of course, I would like also to remark and deal a bit with and touch upon something that was discussed here, which was maritime plastic. When dealing with waste, we talk about a plastic pandemic, and we have that, for instance, there has been 26 million tons of plastic waste generated in Europe every year, with 8 to 85% of it being marine litter being plastic. This is quite remarkable because it is estimated that we have now around 150 million tons of plastics in our ocean. And this is a global problem that deserves a global answer. However, it's not a problem only for the member states, for the countries that have seas or coastal areas or oceans. This is a problem of everyone because the ocean actually starts in our tap, it starts in our houses. If you're in Luxembourg or if you are in an island surrounded by oceans, such as Madeira, where I come from. So the measure to fight this plastic pandemic should be at all levels. At the international level, I would like to highlight what the United Nations developed in February to start negotiations on a plastic treaty and for this treaty to be concluded by 2024. This was actually something that was very much highlighted when I was part of the UN Oceans Conference in Lisbon this last summer. I had the privilege to head the Environmental Committee and together with the Fisheries Committee and Development Committee of the European Parliament in this conference. And here it was clear and a lot of calls for help that the climate crisis that we are facing requires oceans protection and biodiversity protection in parallel. So I believe this treaty will have concrete measures on how to make that will make all countries fight against marine litter. Speaking a bit less global, more local, at the European and national levels, we need strong public policies that recognizes that this crisis is not of a far future, but one of the present, and these will have great repercussions as we have been living throughout in the past few weeks in Europe with the droughts, extreme heat waves, and this will be the case for the winter. As a member of the European Parliament and as a medical doctor specializing in public health, since the beginning of my term, I have been advocating for a health in all policies approach. That means putting a focus on the social and economic benefits of valuing our health first when talking about prevention of pollution and land-based sources as a key to promoting better health and well-being for all. I would also like to reflect about what was touched upon here, which is the economic model of demand and supply. On the supply side, of course, there needs to be obligations on how to reduce usage of plastic, to increase recycling and increase repairability, but also on the demand side, with our citizens, with our people, with more education, more literacy, and empowering the consumers to choose sustainable. And this example with the compost bins was a true example of it. It changes behaviors, and it's that change on behaviors that we are also working and hoping for. In the EU, we are doing a lot of work in regards to a more circular economy. Those of you from the European Commission, we in the European Parliament are looking forward for the new legislation on the circular economy that will come forward in the next few weeks, in the next months, and then we're going to start working very intensely on this and how to deal with the plastic and waste problems. At the local level, of course, it's of the utmost importance, and I can understand, okay, we didn't hear anything novel here today, but we heard a lot of hopes for the future, at least for me that still hopefully have a few more years to live, that we're going into the right direction. This is an example. There's much more in the EU. We must be proud of it. We must triple that to have it multiply in other regions, for instance, outermost regions, more suburban regions, but also to multiply with our players, with those that are those that we have agreements with and that we work on, which are called in the European Union third countries. So meaning to set an example in the European Union that can have a ripple effect around the globe. And I think this was clearly highlighted with the Argentinian example. So LIPOR's commitments, I wish to also highlight LIPOR's commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals. Right at this moment, these goals seem to be further behind in the daily news and daily commitments, but it needs to be highlighted because this should be incorporated. SDGs should be incorporated into the business strategies, and this LIPOR is here clearly showing progress and proves that there's a change of ways of thinking and working, that we need to keep this hard work going and deal with future challenges, not only in Portugal, across the EU, but also across the world. I think we heard really interesting projects here today. I hope that they can be replicated, and from the European Parliament, we're truly committed into reducing our footprint to get on into the climate law objectives and actually be synchronized with the Paris Agreement objectives. And I think today we heard a good example of how that can be achieved. So thank you very much again, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Before we leave, I just want to tell a short story to the lady there, okay? Very short. There is a fire in a forest, okay? And there's this little bird, colibri, which is the smallest bird that you can imagine. You know the story? No, okay. So the colibri goes far away to a water, a river, and picks up a drop of water and goes to the big fire and drops that drop of water. And it goes back and forth like this. And at a certain moment, the lion asked him, "But what are you doing?" And he replied, "I'm doing my very best." So that's what I wanted to tell to all of us. Thank you, Mrs. Sara. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again. I think you have to leave.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, but
No, it's
carry on,
okay.
please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Obrigada, sim. Ficamos em contacto. Tá bem. Okay. Now I just want to one last 30. Yes, please.
Hello. So, okay, my question is about plastic. I'm very okay. We all know that the future of refinery is a petrochemical, and I wonder if you think that it will be possible to really get rid of plastic. We may maybe think about remove it from food process, but the plastic will still remain a problem. And I think we have to think about to treat it with the petrochemical industry, because still now I don't think that we have a solution to really get rid of the plastic.
Has to be maybe bioplastics. There has to be more research and more innovation in plastic, but probably we cannot. No,
It depends. I believe in the power of technology. I really believe. I think, and we are finding that and in the last years we accelerated new technologies. We are finding incredible things for the evil and for the good, for the bad and for the negative side. But I believe in technology. We don't know. 100 years ago, we hadn't plastics. It was different materials, with wood, with other things. Nowadays, we have plastics. I don't know. We don't know.
Do you want to say something? Yes, please.
Mr. Leite, you are an expert in innovation.
No, it's true. What we think is we have a good innovation in the sector, but we have a lot of products made by plastics, with plastics, and it's impossible to finish the production of this kind of materials. One important thing we need to understand that the plastic is a problem if we put the plastic in the wrong place. If we don't sort correctly, if we don't have eco points to put or containers to put the separate plastics, we have a problem. If we put in the right place, after the industry can recycle that kind of plastics. But now, as you know, we have a lot of innovation trying to have bioplastics or biodegradable plastics. So it's a way that it's important to follow, and I believe also, as Mr. José Manuel Ribeiro said, that in the future we can have solutions for that, but we need to be very careful, very careful.
I just want to add that you can get there's a lot of companies and research centers that very committed to develop new materials, very committed. And one of the sources is wood. Not the whole of wood, but you have elements in wood that are not used, and that could be microfibrils and things like that. So even for planes and for cars, there are new materials coming in. You're right, it will never replace, or maybe in 100 years, but there are new materials coming up. Yes.
Yes, I'm Hashmi from Euromag. I'm also coming from Africa, and we're really listening with very attention this proposal. Like politician, we saw in Europe from a long time we sell very essential sectors to the private sectors. And in French we say les bijoux de famille, then jewels of families. You are from public sectors, then it means you are thinking about what the population and what the country need. Tomorrow we'll speak about the energy also, because we see today in Europe a lot of problems in the energy sector. It's because it's private company today to own our energy. Then have you a message for Europe? Because perhaps it's an example. You did not to give this sector to private. In Italy, we saw the European money went into the mafia because it was necessary. Then it's Portugal making something different, and it's a very good message.
That is a very important question. Yesterday, in one of our meetings in DG somewhere here, not far from here, we were discussing that question. Now I'm going to say what I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. We have to be careful when we compare. If you compare, for example, Italy, Portugal, the European Union, it's a territory, it's a place with state. We have a state, a clear state, with the capacity to force the fulfillment of the law. You have a state. When you compare to other countries with weak states, it's very difficult. Why I say these? Because we, for example, we are a public organization like a municipality, but for example, for almost all our facilities, we have private companies doing services. No problem. But we have strong supervision. We pay them, but we have strong supervision. And that is the point. A lot of times the problem the problem about your question is that if you don't have supervision, if you don't have regulation, because you have corruption, you have problems. So it's the question of supervision. It's very important. If you have power to supervise in a real way, there's no problem, because there is the clear border between the public interest and the private interest. Do you understand? You only have problems when you don't have this capacity, and in lots of countries you don't have strong states, so you have corruption, and all those problems. If you have the rule of the law, the real rule of the law, then you don't have problems. And all our colleagues, we don't have nothing against the private sector. It's a way of organized resources. I think the best examples, because in this area, we can talk about efficiency. It's real efficiency. And you can create a model putting together the private sector and the public sector around efficiency, but with strong supervision, with strong regulation. And if they are bad, bye-bye, we change.
Yeah.
So it's very clear. But you only have these in communities, in states with strong institutions that respect the law. That is it. It's so simple.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I think we're going to call it an end. I will invite you for a drink, but before that, I want to congratulate LIPOR for its 40th birthday and all it has achieved. I think it is an example, and we heard it today and yesterday in many of our meetings in the Commission and in the Parliament as well. It is an example, and I really congratulate it, and I wish you 40 or 80 more years of success. And thank you for joining us in here today. Thank you.